All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Friday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you to sell the rumor and perhaps buy the news. Well, Dennis, a lot of action in the market yesterday. Can you believe Goldman Sachs said to short the market?
Yeah, they came out with a note. That's really why we sold off so significantly yesterday, recommending to short the S&P. I think that took everybody by surprise, obviously, with how bad the market got killed.
That was very rude of them because I was trying to do a
I
blog
know.
about the market selling off, and I was looking at some of these tops, and I'm writing the blog, and as I'm writing the blog, the market's selling off, and I said, "To hell with it! It's already old news." But
Yeah, we did put the blog up there, but yeah, because those blogs, when Joel writes them there, they take a good 2 hours to put together. He started putting it together right after the opening, saying, because we were saying on the show that some of these stocks are starting to have some potential double tops, we said on our morning show. So Joel's trying to write an article right after, and it takes a couple hours to put that together with the charts. And meanwhile, the market's flat and it starts selling off, and Joel's like, "Stop selling off! I want to put that
old
article out
news,
there."
old news.
Yeah, so we did publish it. It's too bad. We put a note at the bottom because he was actually publishing that to give him props before the market started selling off. We didn't get it published till noon, and the market was already down 15 points. It did continue selling off, Joel, but disappointing for your article there.
Okay, we got a good formation in the S&Ps, which I always like to trade off. You made the low yesterday at 1317.50. The Globex low has not reached that level, 18 and a quarter. Maybe it's a double bottom. Keep an eye on that area. Excellent support as of right now. On the upside, just like the way we came down from 1335, I don't see anything going back up to 1335. So if this market get a little momentum going, I see no major resistance points until that. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to stop there, but that's what I'm looking for in the market. Boy, a lot of news on these banks. I don't know. The news comes out yesterday, they sell them, and then, or the rumors, and then the news comes out, and now they're all up.
Yeah, yesterday, obviously CNBC had the note that Moody's was going to come down and downgrade all of the banks after the close. So all the banks were selling off and the whole last 2 hours of the day on that rumor, and then they come out and the bank downgrades actually weren't as bad as expected. Morgan Stanley, for instance, only got downgraded 2 notches. They were expecting 3 notches. So here they are, Morgan Stanley getting back all of its losses from yesterday. Now, the other banks aren't, but Morgan Stanley is. So it's key to note this one too here, Joel. It's coming right back into yesterday's high, the day before high. This is going to open into some major resistance here at 1445.
Just going back and looking at perhaps the last 6 days in this stock, going back to the 6th day, you had a couple lows at 1354 and 1355, and then you made a high around 14. And then the last 3 days, you've bumped the support is moved up to 14, and the resistance is now at 14 and a half. This is a major area. There is no doubt that you have to keep an eye on this 15 and a half area.
14 and a
1560.
half, 14 and a half.
Yeah, 14 and a half. What did I say, 15 and a
Yeah,
half?
again, your handle's confused again there,
Maybe it's
buddy.
going to 15
I
and a
got your
half.
back. I got your back.
Yeah. That 1460 is what it hit in the pre-market. Boy, that is one tough formation there. A triple top will be a quadruple top. Are we going to break out and hit this $15? But should be a great play off that 1450 level as well. J.P. Morgan getting a bounce too.
Yeah, JP Morgan bouncing nicely here in the pre-market. Most of these banks are up. That looks like what's going to drive the market up here a little bit anyways off the hop. I'm not 100% convinced that all these gains are going to hold. But JP Morgan 36.05 is trading right now after closing at 35.51. Still an ugly, ugly downtrend there on the daily. I can draw it for you right here. But if we get back up into that whole 30, I'd say I'm trying to just grab the number there for you guys. 36, 35.80, 30. So we are going to open up above that actually. So $36 though looks to be resistance here, Joel.
Yeah, little double top there at the 37. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to come into play today. Keep a real close eye. 35, 43, and 83 were the last 2 days' high. So let's call that 34.60 if it goes into sell-off mode. Coming back up, there's really not a lot of resistance in there. It kind of made the 36 handle look like chop suey the last 2 days. So just put your scales out there if you're getting long. I doubt we're going to get back to that $37 level. Citigroup getting a little boost too.
Citigroup popping up here a little bit, but it had a terrible day yesterday. The stock was down from that whole 29.20 high it made, got as low as 27.76. Is bouncing up, trading 28.14, but not getting nearly the bounce that some of these other banks are getting. So it's hard to say. You got a lot of air in here. We had a wild range yesterday, so could be a lot of, it could be some movement in here.
Of course, we're always keeping an eye on the previous day's low, 27.76. That's kind of backed up by the 4 day low at 27.50. Just sitting here at 28.14, 28.15 in the pre-market, kind of middle of nowhere. Bank America not getting much of a bounce at all, up 11 cents.
Little bit here. Again, we sold off from the whole above $8 or 8.10 area. I think if this thing gets back to $8, it's a big psychological number still for it. Some of these banks here, I'm just not totally convinced if these are rallies are going to hold up here today. Obviously, they're rallying here a bit this morning, and a little bit of a bounce. But I'm just not totally convinced that this rally is going to hold up.
Is it a dead cat
That's
bounce?
what I'm thinking more than anything here. If it gets up back in the $8 area, a lot of people probably nervous that it cut through 8 yesterday. I got to think this gets in the low eights. It's going to find some more sellers.
Yeah, triple top 817 to 821. So definitely that would be sellers will be stepping in ahead of that level. Kind of quiet in the pre-market. I mean, for as much as these were down yesterday, certainly not getting much of a rebound. That did get a little spike after the close to 814, but that 815 to 820 level is going to be major resistance. And just someone out there mind this at 790 in the pre-market, so not much of a range. Goldman Sachs, still shocked by them initiating a short in the market. I wonder if they're shorting their own
I
stock.
know
Or
they should have been shorting their own stock because it got beat up pretty good on their note yesterday. Stock trade as high as 96.87, closed down actually near the low. 93.87 was the low, closed at 93.90. Is getting a little lift here, 94.60. But when stocks sell off $3 and they rally 50, 60 cents, it's not really that much to get excited about. I mean, Morgan Stanley is one thing; it's getting all of its losses back from yesterday, but these other ones aren't. So I think you're going to find some sellers, especially if we start to approach yesterday's highs in any of these issues. I don't think you're even going to get close to there, though, today.
okay, not much activity in the pre-market in Goldman Sachs. Currently made a high at 94.87. But I just want to go back a few days in the stock. If you're looking to try and pick this up on the cheap, you had lows June 8th through June 15th, all in the 92 handle.
Right.
With the low of the move there being 92.27, the actual lower of the move being 90.70, 90.55. So if you're trying to be a bottom picker here and this stock gets under $93, that 92.50, 93 area, you might want to try and enter a stop, enter along with the stop under 90 and see if we could get a bounce up to triple digits. Major resistance at the double top here, 96.47 and 97.60. Doesn't look like that's going to come into play today. Looks like Ryder is going off the road.
Ryder is going off the road here. Coming out last night, disappointing outlook. Stock is down 4 points right now, trading 37.73. Actually, 3 points. I can't do my math this morning, but down 3 points, trading 37.65 now after closing at 40.75. Just looking at it here on the weeklies, trying to go out because the dailies aren't far enough. We did have some lows back. I'm trying to grab those lows. Well, this whole 40 area was key when we cut through there.
Yeah.
So, man, I just don't see a heck of a lot. There was a major low if we go back down to October 7th at 34.28, but we're $3 away from there. You got some support before there?
Just the pre-market low. That's really the only thing I can identify. 36.55 was the low that we hit just a little bit ago. Are getting a bounce off that level up to 37.75. I would keep an eye on 38 as resistance coming back on the downside, looking at those lows at 36.55. If you got to go to the weeklies on this one and actually the monthlies here, you did have that low back in October of 2011 at 34.28. Not sure if that's going to be on the radar today, so let's keep an eye on that $38 as resistance.
You want to be cautious on these two because these stocks that have come out with lowered guidance, a lot of days, like look at Bed Bath and Beyond yesterday. They come out and they open low and they continue to go lower. So you want to be really careful. Like I mean, obviously there was a little bit to do with the market maybe on the Bed Bath and Beyond, but the stock opened up near the high at 65, went down to 61. So you do want to be careful and you do want to be cognizant if there isn't a lot of levels in there on a stock like Ryder. Stock could get ugly in a hurry. So you think it's ugly down 3 points and you're picking bottoms. These stocks can get a heck of a lot uglier.
Have you not been going to Red Lobsters much?
Actually, I went there a couple of weeks ago. Still a good meal. I love that place, Red Lobster. But Darden Restaurants reporting earnings. They were in line. They actually did raise the dividend. Stock market doesn't care. Stock's down $1.50 here, trading at it's trading at 48.66 right now on the dailies. He did have a few lows here, which is
Yep.
an interesting area. We're 48.81, 48.87, 48.90. We're a little bit below that area. If you go back just a few days before that, you had some lows in the 48.50 area. Maybe that area can hold. If it starts to cut below there, then you start to open up because there's really not that much below there.
Yep, very good technical analysis there, buddy. Looking at the pre-market, 48.26 has been the low. We got a nice bounce up to 49.35, so kind of trading in the middle there, so keep an eye on that range. You have to respect all those lows in that area, in that 48.50 area. You do not see, I guess we've been seeing more of those formations, but just keep an eye on that whole area and use 49.50 as resistance.
A couple other ones moving here. Hey, Facebook in the news. We've been speculating for how long here that maybe Facebook would get an upgrade. It didn't get an upgrade today, Joel, but it did get initiated with a buy at Nomura, so that's pretty darn close. So here we are, Facebook actually looking okay here this morning, up 56 cents.
Okay, so I'm looking at this stock. I did enter a position a while ago, bought some calls. I'm doing okay, and I always like to figure a 50% retracement, right?
Right.
So what's been the Facebook high? Is it 45 where it traded on the day of the IPO, or is it 42 to where they adjusted all the trades to?
Well, I would say it's 42. If they've adjusted the trades down, I would say that's what you use, is that 42
Well, then
number.
why don't they adjust the charts?
Well, maybe some chart providers did, maybe they didn't, I'm not sure. But use whatever you want there on the 50% retracement. But I would say I
Oh,
would
it
use
bothers me
42.
because I'd like to use that as a target. That's one of my numbers. Well, shorter term here, let's look at what's going on in Facebook in the pre-market. We are bumping up against 3250. Boom, lo and behold, what was the low yesterday? 3250. So let's keep an eye on that. I'll tell you, it was hard for me. I am long this stock, and then usually when the market's cratering, I have to sell everything. But I held on to my Facebook, and they rewarded me with an upgrade. But let's hope it's not a double top at 3250.
The relative strength on this thing was great yesterday, too. I think the stock, did it end up closing higher? I think it did end up closing up on a day we were down 28 points. I believe Facebook actually ended up closing up on the day, which is incredible. Just looking at the 10-day chart here I just brought up for you, obviously we had that nice consolidation in the 27 to 28 area. We broke out basically in 3 days, ran straight up to the 32 area. Then now we've consolidated for 2 or 3 days in this area. What I always say, you get that run up, you get the little consolidation, and then it's usually a continuation of that pattern. So if that's the case, this stock could go for a heck of a run. I like the breakout here today above this 32.5. I think this stock could be off to the races. Wouldn't surprise me if this seen 33 or 34 handle today. Stock looking good on the charts.
I wouldn't be surprised if it saw 33.
Well, that's what I just said. What do you mean? Oh,
No, you
saw.
said C.
Oh man, I got it. He's always making fun of me. I gotta go back to English class. Seen, saw, all this stuff. You're right. It makes me sound like I'm illiterate here. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the stock saw 33.
Saw.
Saw.
Okay, okay.
Saw.
Just to tell you folks, I took a lot of heat on my blogs, and I was wrong as far as buying this off the IPO. I was wrong at buying it at 32. The only formation, the reason I said I'm going to pick a point to enter this stock, and where my point was $28. You go back, you see all those highs at 28.07 and 27.76, 28.10. All those highs, I said, if we could get a close above 28, and that's where we got a close on the 14th above that level. It was above the key support, or old resistance, new support. I was prepared to buy more when it went to 27.50, and it never did. So, Dennis, are you long any HNR today?
Would be nice. Hey, look at this stock. This stock is taking off here this morning. Bring up the dailies for you. Stock that was at a 52-week low, I believe, at $4.88 is trading 9.03 right now. So it's off the charts, trading higher. The news is that they're going to sell some of their Venezuelan assets for $525 million. Well, the market cap on this stock's only $200 million. So I guess when you're selling assets and not even selling your whole company for way more than your market cap, that'll give a spike to the stock.
Yeah, guess where it got to in the pre-market?
How high this thing, or after hours last night, how high did this thing get?
11.50.
Wow, 11.50. So I guess it's a sell-off from 11.50, but nine.
Yeah, see, people see it up 4, and it was really up 6,
Wow.
but seems to find a home here at $9.10, $9 since making that outrageous high. A lot of consolidation at the $9 level. If you want to buy a stock that doubles off the open, buy it at $9, but use a tight stop, because who knows how far this thing could go if it starts to go into sell-off mode.
We've got Apple too. We should talk about Apple. It held up okay for a while yesterday, but then eventually with the market down so much, it started to go down. So it actually did hold up for about half the day there yesterday. Was trading almost flat when we were down, but it just couldn't hold up, Joel. It was such a sell-off yesterday.
Yeah, I talked about this stock in the weekly outlook, how it really was consolidating in tight ranges, and it did have the breakout, made a run at 590. You almost have a triple top there at 590 in this decimal world, 588, 22, 89 and a quarter, and 590. But still, you're still looking at 3 days of fairly tight ranges in this. I'd keep an eye on yesterday's low at 77.44. I don't think I'd want to be long the stock if it took out that level.
Yeah, I thought this stock could get to 600 by the end of the week. Goldman, I guess, screwed me on that when they threw out the note yesterday to sell short the S&P and everything sold off. So I guess I'm not going to hit that target here, and obviously it's through that 580 level, which I thought was critical to hold. So I'd be nervous if I was long Apple here now.
Okay, let's just do a couple of the Big Ten because we did have the big run-up, and now we've had the big sell-off. We have some stocks coming into major support. How about Chevron Corporation gave you another chance to buy it under 100? Not very much of a chance, but a chance to buy it under 100.
Such a big area here for this stock. Look at these. I'm just going to highlight on the chart here for you. This whole, I didn't do it very well, but this whole 99.55 to 99.60.80 area, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that quintuple bottom we were talking about before. Stock is coming back in. I gotta think it might pause at that area. Had a lot of consolidation, a lot of lows right there. We closed only 40 cents off that area, so if it starts to break under 100, don't get too nervous until it starts going below 99.50. That's where I'd start to say, well, maybe we got to look out here on our shorts. But if it cuts through 100, don't think it's going to 96 right away. I think it could stall out at 99.50.
If you want to just pull up just an identical chart almost, but a different sector and a totally different stock, IBM, same thing. Sniffed that psychological resistance at 200 and then got flushed down the toilet. Boom, right back down to this support. And notice how both of them just stopped above that support level. That only got to 193.19.
Yeah.
We're calling that whole other area 192.50.
Yeah, so again, keep that in mind. If it takes out yesterday's low, I wouldn't get too nervous. It takes out by 50, 60 cents. This whole 192.14, I think, was the low of all of these. So until it took out 192 even, then I'd probably get nervous. But off the hop here, if you're trying to pick bottoms on these pullbacks, these areas could be interesting.
Procter and Gamble, I was going to say it had a double bottom here at 59.75. It's trading a tad below that in the pre-market. I think that will be a good swing number. I guess we know why we saw all those institutional orders, Dennis, from 66 to 68. Boy, I tell you, the big money knows how to sell these stocks. Are they trying to buy it back yet?
I don't know. Well, Credit Suisse isn't because they just removed it off of their focus list today. Thanks a lot for removing it off your focus list when the stock's at its 52-week low. Would have been nice to have that a few months ago. But when they were all upgrading it, I think actually back then, so they seem to have it all backwards. I'm not sure if Credit Suisse upgraded back then, but I'm never a big fan when an analyst's coming out removing it off and saying basically, they don't want to own the stock when the stock's now sold off here 3 points in the last couple of days. Needs to hold that low. It needs to hold that double bottom. If it starts to cut below there, I think the low is 59.74. It is trading slightly below there right now at 59.72. That removing from the focus list could push the stock down to a new low here again.
Okay, just to finish up here, J&J went back up to that 67 again. All the HFT guys got short, squeezed it at 66.80.
Yeah.
When they finally got out of the way, it fell down to 66.16, but recovered nicely to the level at 67.39. You think that 67 goes today?
No, I don't think so. I don't even think it's going to get back up there to sniff it today for some reason. I think that 67 looks like it's going to hold those high frequency guys, what we've been talking about on the show for the last 3 or 4 days. Big institutional seller at 67. The high frequency guys always sniff those guys out. They've been selling in the 66.90s for the last 3 sessions. That's been a profitable trade for them multiple times. I think this thing might start rock and rolling actually to the downside. If it gets back up to that 66.95 area though, be ready on your sell button because that's where it's run into resistance 3, 4, or 5 times before. Above 67, all bets are off. I bet you got a lot of high frequency traders with stops at 67.01. So you need to be really careful. If it does start to wiggle out of that 67 area, could get a little, wicked little spike off the hop. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this thing, it may actually start to sell off here. It was a crazy move up 5 points. I think the stock needs to pull back a bit to get some more interest from some value investors.
Okay, just to finish up the show, as mentioned at the beginning, the S&Ps have held yesterday's low, 1750. Settlement has been the low so far, 18 and a quarter. Potential double bottom as we speak. Look for a little pullback. Certainly use that as a stop area. Because looking at the numbers, if we take out this 1317.50 today, it's going to be ugly. There's really not a lot of support in this going back down to the 1300 level, but their bid has been a pretty quick move. I think there's a chance we can migrate back up to the mid-range of this entire break from the high of the move down to the low at 1335. That's still my swing number. Any closing comments for our listeners?
No, I think it's just critical that it holds yesterday's
Yep.
low. If that doesn't hold, we could see 1300 and it could get real ugly. It always makes me nervous. Like you almost like to see the market down 4 or 5 points here, maybe the bottom pickers would come in. But instead, you've got it. After a 30-point down day, now you're up 4 or 5 points. It makes some people, oh, maybe I should sell and take this little opportunity to sell a little bit, and they may come in. And you'll know in the first 10-15 minutes of trade. If this market quickly starts to get back its gains and we start to make new lows, look out below. But if we can hold on, consolidate here a little bit and slowly drift up like Joe was saying up to that 1335, maybe you can try, from the long side. But I'm a little bit sketchy and a little bit concerned to until I know what this market does 10 or 15 minutes after the open.
Well, you let us know. You said it. You tweet it out when you know what it's doing, and we'll all be happy. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. Have a nice weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday.